We need to talk about something. Something that happens when a brutal, violent murderer becomes a meme. Yeah, you heard that right. This is the story of a man named Wade Wilson, and it forces us, all of us, to look at a really unsettling part of our digital world.
So, on one side of this whole thing, you have this reaction. As soon as his trial went viral, social media just exploded with comments, romanticizing him. I'm talking about turning a convicted killer into some kind of heartthrob. We're seeing thousands of posts, fan edits, a really bizarre fixation on his looks. But that, as you can imagine, is a dangerously, dangerously incomplete picture.
And then, well, this is the other half. This is the chilling, brutal reality hiding behind that online fantasy. That's a direct quote from Wade Wilson's own father, testifying about what his son admitted to doing to one of his victims, Diane Rees. And that jarring contrast, that whiplash between those two ideas, that's really the heart of the story we're diving into.
So how in the world did we get here, right? How did a man named Wade Wilson, and yes, he shares that name with the fictional anti-hero Deadpool, commit these absolutely heinous crimes and then somehow transform into a viral sensation? Let's actually break down how this whole phenomenon is threatening to completely erase the memory of the people he murdered.
Okay, so before all the hashtags, before the fan mail, there is a weekend of just unimaginable violence. We're talking October 2019. And let's be super clear, this isn't a comic book plot. This is a factual, tragic account of real crimes that stole real lives.
And the violence just escalated with terrifying speed. I mean, look at this. On October 6th, it starts with a fight and a stolen car. Pretty standard, maybe. But by the very next day, the 7th, he has murdered Kristine Melton, brutally attacked his girlfriend Melissa, and then abducted and murdered Diane Ruiz. It all finally comes to an end on the 8th, and not because of some brilliant police work, but because his own father turned him in. This timeline, it's just a snapshot of pure, unadulterated chaos. And right in the middle of all that chaos were two women. Kristine Melton, just 35 years old, and Diane Ruiz, who is 43. And it's so important to say these are not just names on a case file. Kristine, her loved ones described her as fiercely protective, and Diane was a mom of two, just walking to her job at the local Moose Lodge when her life was stolen from her. We have to remember them as people, not just plot points in his story.
And this is the moment that Wilson's biological father, Stephen Testa, recounted on the stand. His son called him and confessed, just like that. There was no remorse, just a flat, cold statement. I'm a killer. Can you even imagine getting that call? Testa made the absolutely agonizing decision to help law enforcement track his son down, later saying he truly believed Wade would have just done it again.
So, the legal case might have wrapped up, but a second, much stranger chapter was just getting started online. And this is where the grim reality of that crime spree just collides head-on with the bizarre fantasy of social media fame, turning a convicted double murderer into a so-called handsome devil.
And the obsession, it reached a scale that is just staggering. Get this, while on death row, Wade Wilson received over 4,000 letters from admirers. And we're not just talking about letters of support. No, these were marriage proposals, love notes, even explicit photos sent from women all over the world.
You know, there's actually a clinical term for this kind of attraction. It's called Hybristophilia. It's a recognized paraphilia where someone is sexually drawn to people who've committed really awful crimes. Now, this isn't exactly a new phenomenon, but social media has just amplified it to a level we have never, ever seen before. It's literally allowing a killer's fan club to form right out in the open.
So you have to ask, what created this perfect storm? Well, it was like a dark cocktail of different factors all mixed together. First, you've got the Deadpool name, which gave him this ready-made, almost fictional brand. Then there's his appearance, which played right into that romanticized bad boy trope we've seen glorified in media for decades. His smug, totally unremorseful attitude in court? Some people didn't see that as sociopathy. They saw it as some kind of defiant, anti-authority cool. And all of this just fed into this massive online true crime fandom where sometimes real cases get treated like they're just entertainment, blurring that line between fascination and, frankly, glorification.
And this brings us to the most tragic consequence of this whole spectacle. Because in that flood of TikTok edits, fan fiction, and endless online debates about the killer's looks, the real victims, Kristine Melton and Diane Ruiz, they just get pushed further and further into the background. Their lives, who they were, it's all being overshadowed by the infamy of the man who stole everything from them. This right here, this is the human cost. These are the actual words of Diane Ruiz's son from his victim impact statement. He talks about his achievements, getting his driver's license, graduating, getting a scholarship, and how his mom wasn't there to see any of it. The trauma is real, it's lasting, and it is a universe away from all that shallow online chatter.
And these words, they just paint such a clear picture of who Kristine Melton was. Her best friend and her cousin shared this in court, describing a woman who was funny and loyal and a source of safety for the people around her. This is the story that gets lost in all the noise. This is the life that was stolen.
So ultimately, this whole case presents us with a choice. It's a choice about what we as a culture decide to amplify and what we decide to remember, right? Do we focus on the sensational, viral lie, or do we make a conscious effort to hold on to the quiet, human truth of the lives that were lost? Now, the legal system, for its part, delivered its verdict. Wade Wilson was found guilty on all counts, and that includes 2 counts of first-degree murder. The jury recommended that he be sentenced to death, and a judge later confirmed that sentence. So in the eyes of the court, justice was served. But the story doesn't really end there, does it? It leaves us with a really crucial question. As true crime becomes content, and as killers become characters in a story, what's our responsibility in all of this? Where do we, as the people who watch and consume these stories, draw the line between curiosity and maybe even complicity in erasing the victims? Because in the end, the most important takeaway from all of this, it isn't a catchy nickname, it's not a viral hashtag. It's their names, Kristine Melton and Diane Ruiz.